Welcome back to the deep dive. I have to admit, this week's topic, it felt a little bit like looking in a mirror I wasn't quite ready for.
I can imagine. It's a heavy stack of sources this time.
Yeah, we're talking about anger. And the thing is, usually when you read about anger, the goal is always, how to get rid of it, how to manage it.
Right, how to stuff it down or count to 10.
Exactly, like it's some kind of emotional garbage you need to take out. But these sources, they're flipping that completely.
Yeah.
They argue that anger isn't the problem.
It's our relationship with the anger.
Yes. And reading this, I just had this moment of, oh, I've been doing this wrong my whole life. I've been so exhausted by my own anger. And I think it's because I never understood what it was actually for.
That exhaustion you're talking about, that's a huge theme. One of the authors calls it being burned out by the fire you're carrying. And I think for you, for anyone listening, that's such a familiar feeling. It's not just being mad, it's the sheer fatigue of it all.
So let's get into that, because the first big idea that just grabbed me was this metaphor of the temple bell. It's such a powerful shift.
It really is. So the author asks us to imagine, you're in a quiet temple, it's dawn, you're trying to be peaceful, to be spiritual.
Right.
And then, out of nowhere, this huge bronze bell just goes B-O-N-G.
And that's the rude email, or the person who cuts you off in traffic.
Precisely. That's the trigger. And our first instinct is to think, ugh, that noise just ruined my peace. We see it as an intruder.
I would be calm if it weren't for that.
Yes. But this perspective, it's radical. It suggests the bell isn't there to annoy you. It's there to wake you up.
That's the part that hit me, the idea that anger is a messenger. One line said, "The bell reveals your peace was built on sand." And wow, that stung.
It's a sharp insight, isn't it?
It implies that if one little thing can shatter my peace, I didn't actually have peace, I just had, a pleasant numbness.
Dissociation, maybe?
Yeah.
And that's the point. The bell, the anger, it's an alarm system. It's telling you something important. A boundary has been crossed, a value has been ignored, and the mission isn't to silence the alarm.
It's to find the fire.
Exactly.
Okay, but this is where I started to argue with the pages a little bit, because sometimes that alarm goes off and my anger feels toxic. It feels like poison. It makes me want to smash things. So how do we square holy messenger with the fact that anger can make us act like total jerks?
And you've just hit on the most crucial part of this whole deep dive. The sources are very clear. We're not dealing with one thing called anger. They're two totally different energies.
Yeah.
There's what they call ego anger, and then there's wisdom anger.
Wisdom anger. I like the sound of that. So what's the difference? How can you tell them apart when you're in the middle of seeing red?
Well, let's start with ego anger. That's the one we all know. It's reactive, it's defensive, and it's totally obsessed with a story.
The story being, I'm right, and you're wrong, and you're the villain.
Perfectly put. It's all about me versus you. It builds walls. It disconnects. And when you're in that state, you're not actually trying to solve a problem.
Yeah.
You're just trying to prove you're right.
You're protecting your identity.
Yes. And it burns hot and fast, and it always leaves you feeling drained.
Right. That's the poison. So then what's this other thing, the wisdom anger? The text used this mother bear analogy, which I found really interesting.
I love that one. Think of a mother bear. If something threatens her cub, she doesn't pause, she roars, she charges, she becomes this terrifying force of nature.
Yeah.
But, and this is the whole point, she is not acting out of hatred for the intruder.
She's acting out of love for her cub.
Exactly. It's not about punishment, it's about protection. It's what one text called clarity wearing armor. When you see a real injustice and feel that heat rise in your chest, that powerful, no, that's not your ego. That is your core self, your morality, saying protect life.
Okay, so ego anger protects my self-image, but wisdom anger protects a core value or protects life. That makes sense on paper, but in the heat of the moment, my ego is very, very good at convincing me I'm the mother bear. I can feel incredibly righteous about being cut off in traffic. I tell myself I'm protecting the rules of the road.
And that is the trap. The ego is a master hijacker. It takes that pure, raw energy of a boundary violation, and in a split second, it spins a story around it.
Story about me.
A story about you. And the second you start defending the story instead of the value, you're lost. You're back in the poison.
And that's when you get stuck. Which brings up that other metaphor, the one from the Zen texts, the monk holding the burning coal.
Such a visceral image.
It is. Can you walk us through it?
Of course. So there's a man who's been wronged, and he picks up a burning hot coal to throw at his enemy. But he doesn't throw it. He just holds it.
Because holding it proves how right he is to be angry. It's his evidence.
It's his testimony. He thinks, if I drop this,
Yes.
it's like I'm saying what you did was okay. So he clutches it tighter and tighter. And all the while, it's not hurting his enemy, it's searing his own flesh.
Wow. And that feels so much like our world right now. Especially online, it feels like we're all walking around clutching these burning coals.
Yes.
There's this idea that if I'm not constantly outraged, if I let go of the fight for even a second, I'm complicit. I'm letting the bad guys win.
We have been conditioned to believe that our self-destruction is a requirement for justice. But the sources we're looking at today, they just tear that idea apart. They say letting go of the coal isn't forgetting what happened.
It's just stopping the self-harm.
It's stopping the self-harm. You can't fight for a better world if your own hand is burned down to the bone. You're no good to anyone then.
So, okay, here's the pivot. We know the anger is a bell. We know there are two types. We know holding the coal is a terrible idea. So what do we do? Because just stuffing it down doesn't work either.
Right. Suppression is just as bad. And this is where the mindfulness part comes in.
Yeah.
The sources suggest we need to change the question we ask the anger.
Okay.
Usually we ask, how do I fix this? Or how do I win? Or most often, how do I make this feeling go away?
Right. We want an answer, a solution.
Instead, they suggest we turn toward the anger. We look it right in the eye and we ask a totally different question. We ask, what are you guarding?
What are you guarding? That's so different. It treats the anger like a bodyguard.
Because it is. Anger is almost always a secondary emotion. It's the armor we put on to protect something much softer, much more vulnerable underneath.
So when I'm furious about something, if I actually stop and ask that question, the answer might be something else entirely.
The answer might be, I'm guarding my fear of being abandoned, or I'm guarding this deep grief I have about the state of the world, or even I'm guarding my feeling of total powerlessness.
And that just, it immediately takes all the air out of the ego's balloon, doesn't it? You can't stay self-righteous when you realize you're just scared.
It creates a path to the truth. There's this amazing story in one of the articles about a climate activist. She spent a decade just shouting, running on pure rage.
Fear now, the coal got her.
Completely. And one day, totally defeated, she just went and sat by a polluted river and she just wept. She finally let herself feel the grief that was underneath all that rage.
The heartbreak.
The heartbreak. She realized she wasn't just mad at the polluters, she was heartbroken because she loved that river. She loved the planet.
That's the mother bear. The love was the real root.
Yes. And this is the alchemy. This is transforming the poison into medicine. When she reconnected with that love, she didn't stop being an activist. She became a better one. She started building community gardens, organizing from a place of protecting what she loved, not just trying to destroy what she hated.
That is so powerful, but I want to make this real for someone listening who is maybe, stuck in traffic or dealing with a screaming kid.
Yeah.
They can't just go sit by a river. What are the micro practices?
You're right, it has to be practical. It has to live in the body. Because you can't think your way out of a rage hijack. Your thinking brain is offline. So the first step is what they call the somatic pause.
Which sounds simple, but is probably the hardest thing in the world to do.
The hardest, but also the simplest. The second you feel that heat rising, the jaw tightens, the heart pounds, you just physically put a hand on your body. On your heart or on your belly.
You're literally grounding yourself.
You're sending a biological signal of safety to your nervous system. And then you breathe into the physical sensation. Not the story in your head, just the tightness in your chest. You become a witness.
I remember that metaphor of the mind as a mirror. The fire is reflected in the mirror, but the mirror itself isn't on fire.
That's it exactly.
Yeah.
In that moment of witnessing, you stop being an angry person and you become a person experiencing the sensation of anger. And that tiny gap.
That's everything.
In that gap, you have a choice. You can pick up the coal or you can ask the question, what are you guarding?
I want to touch on one last thing because it felt like the deepest twist. The idea of the shadow. That our anger at other people is often really about self-betrayal.
This is the one that really makes us squirm. The idea that when we're most furious at the world, we might actually be furious with ourselves.
Give me an example.
Okay, think of someone who is always complaining that their friends take advantage of them. I do everything for everyone and nobody ever appreciates it. They're just seething with resentment.
We all know that person. Or we've all been that person.
Right. But if we use this lens, we have to ask, who keeps saying yes when they really mean no? Who abandoned their own boundary?
Oof. So the anger isn't at the friend for asking, it's at me for not saying no.
Precisely. You abandon yourself, maybe to be liked or to keep the peace. And that inner protector, that mother bear inside you, She is furious that you left yourself unprotected. But it's so much easier to call someone else selfish than to look at our own self-abandonment.
That completely flips the script.
Yeah.
The anger isn't the problem. The anger is the part of me that's still fighting for me. It's shouting, hey, you left me behind.
And that's why the path to freedom isn't away from the anger. It's directly through it. If you get rid of the anger, you're just silencing the one messenger who's telling you where you need to heal.
So we stop trying to be these calm, spiritual people who never feel anything.
Please. The goal isn't to never feel rage. The goal is to not get lost in it. The poison and the nectar, they're the same substance. It's all about how you hold it.
If you hold it with your ego, it burns you. If you hold it with curiosity, it shows you the way.
It becomes your fuel. It's the energy you need to change your life or to change the world without burning yourself to the ground.
So the invitation to you listening this week is, the next time that bell rings, and it will, maybe in 5 minutes, don't try to smash it, don't ignore it.
Just pause, put a hand on your heart, and ask that fire. Tell me what you're protecting. You might be really surprised by what it has to say.
And you might just find the thing you thought you were fighting was actually trying to save you. Thank you for this. This has given me so much to think about.
It's always a pleasure to unpack the heavy stuff.
And thanks to you for listening. We'll see you for the next deep dive. Take care of yourselves.
And listen to the bell.